And three, two, one. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys, growing on you live. Today, I'm going to be having on my dude, Travis Reilly from the one and only This Is Hell. I am super stoked on this. My man, he's been in one of my favorite bands for the longest time. Really, one of my introduction bands into hardcore. Travis has some really cool things going on with Private Hell and another new company recently. This is one of the things we're going to dig into today for this Christmas season is some ripping things. So we're going to get him tied in here and get this bad boy started. Let's see here. All right, here. Get him synced up. Haha!
Technology.
There it is. Travis, what's going on, dude?
I'm just trying to set my phone down so I could give me a hot second.
Well, while we're figuring that,
it's
out,
I'll just hold it.
Okay, sweet. All right. So basically here on Growing on You Live, we have a couple of icebreaker questions first, and then the remainder of the interview is about you and your craft and your store, and then I have one finale that is written just for you, Travis. So if you're ready, my dude, we're gonna kick this off, man.
All right, man.
First of all, thank you very much for your time today, man. This is absolutely awesome. I've been a huge fan of your band for years and years, and this is sweet. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for asking me, dude. It's funny. You asked me like 3 months ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely free right at the moment. Like, but just please remind me like every 3 weeks of the day.
Right. I know. I try, like booking out a little bit, just as far as kind of like to have some things, scheduled and whatnot. But I try to keep, on messaging people and letting them know, hey, if everything's so good, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm terrible with like stuff. Like I hardly use a calendar and stuff like that. So like when you hit me up, I was like, yeah, cool. Like I'm down. And then like, I think you messaged me like yesterday, like, all right, we're cool for tomorrow. And I was like, oh shit, that's tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, I'm good.
Right.
It's super shitty rainy day in Brooklyn today. So
oh,
good
damn.
day to not go outside.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right, first off, let me ask you, my wife and I do some traveling, and if we were coming through New York, what is a local, food staple or a must go to restaurant, according to Travis Reilly, that we'd have to hit up before leaving?
There's a really good pizza place called New Park Pizza. It's in, I guess it's technically, I think it's technically Brooklyn. It's in Howard Beach.
Okay.
That's like my favorite slice of pizza in, I think in the city or in the greater New York area, if you will. There's a classic, I don't eat meat, but there's a classic spot called Katz's Deli, which is like super famous, that they do these like massive pastrami sandwiches that are like, they're super expensive, but like you can, like if you and your wife were going, you could like split one,
Yeah, okay, nice.
And it's like super classic New York, like it's in movies and all that shit, and there's always a line. Yeah, off the top of my head, those would be my 2 suggestions.
Sweet, that rips.
One for the meat eaters and one for the vegetarians. For
sure.
vegans,
Okay.
There's definitely spots, but off the top of my head, I'm gonna not give you an answer.
Right. That's fine. That's fine. All right. And if I could ask, today, if you could, with everything going on in the pandemic and different things, and if you could set up some sort of dream side project, something with 4 other members, anybody that you could have for a band, to record a couple of tracks, who would be in your dream side project?
Shit, that's a hard question. Like it doesn't have to make any sense. Just like I can just pick 4 people, and it's just kind of like, all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to make any sense. And do they have to be alive, or does it matter?
Dead or alive, man. I mean, that probably doesn't make it any easier, but
I'd probably pick fucking Pantera with me singing.
Nice.
Oh no, sorry. I'd say having like Diamond or Vinny would be really cool. Maybe like I'm a huge Oasis fan, so probably Noel Gallagher would be in the mix. Man, that's hard.
I mean, Pantera with the little Travis Reilly, thrown in the remix. That is that's a ripping idea.
Really
Shit.
ripping what's really good. It's funny when people are like pick four members to form a supergroup. I'm just like Vinny, Dime, Paul, Rex, and Phil.
Boom. That's it, man. That's it. That's a good one. I'll go with that. And so digging into, you and your musical interests, where did it all start for you? What was, your musical interest in your youth, and, what was playing in the household?
My parents had like a little bit of a record collection when my brother and I were kids. It was like a lot of Beatles records, Zeppelin records. My dad was into Zeppelin. I can't really like picture anything else. Like I definitely remember there being like, which I wish I had still. I think my brother actually took my parents' Beatles records, and then his apartment burned down like 10 years ago, or something. Maybe even longer ago. He had an apartment in Brooklyn that a cat knocked over a candle, and it just burnt down their whole apartment. So I think he lost the Beatles records in that fire, which probably would be enough. Probably could sell those and buy an apartment now if he still has it.
Right. Damn.
But yeah, my parents, like had Beatles records, Zeppelin. I think my dad was into like Deep Purple, stuff like that,
Okay.
But definitely it wasn't like I don't know, like it's not like we had like a record player and there was like always music playing, like whereas like now for me, like I'm always listening to music in the house, but my brother he started playing guitar when he was like a teenager, and he played in some local bands and stuff, and then he went on to play in a band called the Movie Life that was very active and all that, so I guess once he started playing in local bands, it definitely piqued my interest more in music, and especially when he started touring with them, because I would go on the road with them selling merch and stuff like that. So that definitely was probably pretty instrumental in me wanting to, kind of play in a band.
Okay.
But I guess to rewind a little bit, a kid that we went to high school with, was like, hey, I'm going to see some bands play. Do you want to come? Whatever. And we like went, and that wound up being our first hardcore show. It was like a VOD, Silent Majority, H2O, and Cleanser at this spot called the PWAC on Long Island. I think it was 96. It was 96 or 97, and that was like awesome and like terrifying all at the same time.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like my brother and I both. It was both of our introductions to hardcore, and then like after that we like discovered like Crucial Chaos, like WNYU, like radio, and like would listen to like radio shows, and like they'd play stuff, and we would like set up the tape and we'd tape it, so we had like almost like a mixtape of like the radio shows they were playing, and kind of like discovered like Warzone and like H2O and like stuff like that, like from listening to those shows.
They were playing hardcore on local radio?
It was a college. It was a college radio station.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, damn, that's awesome.
No,
that's one thing I don't ever remember. Shit.
No, it was just a college in New York City that we like were able to like get the transmission on Long Island. So like we would just listen. Like I don't remember if it was like a Monday night show or whatever. Like, but whenever it was on, we would always listen, and we would tape the show, so we had like something to play like in our Walkman and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. What were some local record shops, that you would frequent as far as, picking up your music?
When we were like younger, I guess, like we only really had one spot, this place called Utopia. It was in Hicksville. Yeah. There's actually two, I think there's two locations there. There's the one near us in Hicksville, and then there was one that was like further eastern Long Island. And then when I'm gonna say like got older, like only like maybe a couple of years later, there was a spot called None of the Above, which there was a location out east, and then they opened one closer to where we lived in Nassau County, and that was kind of like where I would go, and like the dude that worked there would be like, "Oh, are you into this band?" And I'd be like, "Yeah," and he'd be like, "Check out this," and I'd be like, "All right, cool," and I buy that,
Nice.
and I bought like this fucking awesome like this classic like purple Slipknot like windbreaker that like people like freak out over. And I bought that there because it was a record store, but they also sold like T-shirts and shit.
Merch. Yeah.
And that's another item I wish I had that I could probably sell for like good money right now.
Right.
Yeah, like
that's sweet.
Utopia and None of the Above were like the two local. And then as we got a little older and we were going into the city and stuff, Generation Records is a pretty famous like New York City record spot that we would go, and they had listening stations so you could check out an album before you picked it up, right? And then the basement there, like tons of merch, probably bootleg, and then either bootleg or like on consignment from bands,
Right.
And then they had like tons of like vinyl in the basement there too as well.
Damn, sweet. That's So I mean, a little bit as far as my introduction to This Is Hell was. Do you remember a shop called Circuit City, a music store?
Yeah, was
Okay.
was it just music or was like appliances and shit?
It was, yeah, it was. It was more like a Best Buy, like when that was first starting. I had like all the different shit, movies and music or whatever. But that was my introduction to This Is Hell, was seeing the cover for Sundowning and just being like, what the fuck is this? Like, I had no idea what it was. It was still kind of early into my coming into hardcore, and it was the visuals of the cover that really drew me, initially. And then there was something, if you're a fan of such and such, Long Island hardcore, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna check this out. My question to you being, what are maybe 3 albums that, just seeing the cover art drew you in that you still love today?
So I guess like I'll go for 2 of them. I'll go like young, like my brother and I, like, we're only 18 months apart. So, we were fairly close growing up, and we grew up in a town called Levittown on Long Island, and we had this spot called the Tri-County Flea Market, and it was just like, I don't know, I guess like a standard flea market, if you will, and it was just like, like one floor there was like all jewelry, like one floor there was like a food court, and then there was like just all these different types of shops, like you can buy like, well, we'd go to this baseball card shop and we like steal baseball cards and like price guides, right? But then also there was like this one section that was like a music section, and it was like, classic like late 80s, early 90s, where it was like, tapes, shirts, like all the shit, and they had like all different stuff. And my brother and I, like, I don't know if it's definitely possible that before we heard these albums, we went and him and I bought back patches for our denim jackets.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So one of us had Anthrax, Among the Living, and the other one had Metallica and Justice for All. So we both had these like sick, like acid washed, like denim jackets with these album cover back patches on it. And both of those album covers are just like super striking. And like, so I don't remember if we like bought those back patches and we're like, okay, we should check out these bands now, or like,
right.
But I mean, so those 2 were like albums that are still like, you could spin them whenever you want, right? And like, and I'd say Master of Puppets 2 has got a really good album cover too.
Yes.
A little later, and I guess in a similar vein, like Leeway, Born to Expire, really good album cover. That I could listen to that album any day and kind of just enjoy it. It's a hard question. There's so many good album covers, and it's been so long, right, since like I feel like I saw an album cover before I heard, or like most of the time you kind of like you hear it at the same time, or at the very least, like a band releases the album cover and then like it's with a single, so like you're hearing something,
Right.
It's very rare these days to like look at something and go, oh, that's fucking cool, let me like check it out, but yeah, I immediately went to Metallica and Anthrax, and actually like I think my brother still has one of the jackets, which like is incredible.
Damn, yeah, that rules. That rules. When in bringing up, I mean, as far as the cover art, you guys working with Jacob Bannon, how did that come about as far as him? Because it was released on Death Wish, right? Or at least distributed.
So the CD version came out on Trustkill, and then Death Wish did the vinyl. Now I don't remember if it was like the plan from the jump, like I don't know if they came out together or not, but. I think we probably all like, we of course knew who Jake was, and like we're familiar with his art and his band and stuff, and he's done so much like iconic shit, so I think for us it was kind of like we signed to this label, we got like more money than we should have to like make an album, so like we spent a long time in the studio, we like got like a good designer to like do the album cover and all that, and yeah, like I mean, like what you just said, I'm sure is probably rings true for like a lot of people with our band. I'm sure there's been a lot of people over the years who like saw our like album cover and were like, that's really cool, and then like checked it out and they were like, not as cool as the cover, but it's all right. But yeah, I remember being in the studio recording Sundowning, and like us getting emails from Jake with like rough sketches and like shit like that, and us like geeking out in the studio, being like, "Oh man, this is fucking cool." Um,
Damn.
like I know it's probably biased, but it's definitely like one of my favorite band and album covers. You know, he's done so much cool stuff. You know, like there's like Modern Life is War, like obviously Converge Records, Killing the Dream got a really cool Jake Bannon cover. Rise and Fall has a really cool Jake Bannon cover. I mean, he's done everything, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's definitely
For sure.
probably my favorite album cover of ours. I think it's you know, it's our first album. It's kind of like where we got like any fan base that we have is like definitely we like probably got from the release of that album.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I think too, you know, one of those things I've hit on with a couple of people talking, you know, in interviews, and there's one thing where like an album, you know, music wise is absolutely amazing. And then you have every once in a while where it's like the cover art is just kind of like a fall, and it's like, man, if they just had a little bit of a, you know, like a cover art as well, that was like just as good, like this whole thing would be like a perfect, you know, top 10 album of all time, you know? And I think that was one of those things for me where it's like, the music was absolutely amazing, and then the cover art too, you know, like the packaging and everything. I think it just adds another element of like, you know, it goes down, you know, as far as like in hardcore for me, for sure. I love Sundown.
Yeah, I wonder if that's maybe what kind of because that's the thing. Like if you talk to somebody who likes this as hell, like chances are like they're gonna reference Sundowning as like their favorite record, or at least the entry point to the band. You know, you know, there's probably some people who like the next album they were like done with us. You know. And then some people who got into us later and then like discovered that. But I think that it was the perfect marriage of like being like a good record, you know, but also like having the artwork to go along with it. You know?
The whole package.
And like you said, the front had some sticker on it, right? It probably said like for fans of like Comeback Kid or something, you know? Like
yeah, I know. I was trying, dude. I was digging so hard because I thought like maybe I still had it somewhere around, or I was looking online. I'm like, what the fuck did that sticker say? Because I know like.
I wonder, I have a poster, but it doesn't say on the poster.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder, like, my mom probably has it with like the sticker on the cover still.
Nice.
If I find it out, I'll message you and let you know. But
yeah, for sure.
My guess would be like Comeback. It would probably be one of the bands that was referenced, just because they're like the go-to melodic hardcore band, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I have to. I mean, hitting on that too. You know, that's got to be one of the first times I remember anything with like a for fans of, you know, type thing. I mean, like since then that's become, you know, a thing. But it was like, you know, oh shit, you know, I okay, I know that band. I'm gonna check this out too. So yeah. I mean, that's interesting.
It went from that. It went from like that was like that era, right? When they started doing that, you know, and it went from that to like as seen on tour with. You know,
yeah.
Like I feel like our next album, like we got like that, you know, because we toured so much on Sundowning that when Misfortunes came out, it was kind of like you might have seen these guys with this band, that band, you know,
right.
And it's like I guess that sticker on the front kind of like was the modern almost like thank you list, right? Because like prior when we were younger, we would like check out a band's thank you list, and it would, like you would check out bands based on who they discussed, you know, and who they liked.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and I guess this is a little bit of my bias and a selfish question just for me, but Weight of the World has always been my favorite album from the band. I just through and through, it's a really special, you know, time and just piece, you know, as far as in hardcore is one of my favorite albums still, you know, to this day. And I just wanted to ask, you know, as far as I've seen online where you guys have mentioned, you know, as far as kind of like living life to the fullest being, you know, a theme. And I wanted to ask you about, you know, your personal approach to like writing and just the recording studio process of that.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, it was our third album. We had been a band for 6 years by the time that album came out, toured so much. We recorded in Los Angeles with a Long Island. Actually, there's a dude from Long Island named Tomas Costanza. He moved out to he played in some local bands and stuff, and then he wound up becoming a producer and like he wrote songs. He writes a lot of jingles and shit like that, and like writes songs for like pop singers and all this shit, you know. And we just like we actually like got hooked. We got hooked up with him. So he recorded. I mean, this is I'm making this a longer story, but it's crucial, I think, and it's kind of funny because so our second album, Misfortunes, was on Trustkill. I think Josh from Trustkill introduced us to Tomas and was like, hey, there's this guy because at the time he lived on Long Island still, Tomas, and there's this guy on Long Island. You guys should see about him maybe recording your next album. So we're like, all right, like he's like go to his studio, like record like 2 or 3 songs with him, see if you click, and then if you want, do the record with him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and we recorded. We put out a 7-inch called Cripplers, which was like I think it was one song, new song covers or something. So we recorded that with him. We didn't feel strongly one way or the other about him, but at the time, our drummer Dan really liked working with him and liked how the drums were. So when it came time to do Misfortunes, we were going to do drums with Tomas, and then we were going to go finish the record with Joe Sakata, who's a dude on Long Island who does a lot of death metal stuff. So we did drums with Tomas. It was good, whatever. We like go bring the drum file to Joe, and like something gets fucked up. There's like whatever program he used, he didn't have, and like we converted the drums, and like to make a long story short, like the drums on Misfortunes kind of sound dumb. It's hard. The snare in particular, it's hard for me to listen to. I think over time I've just gotten used to it, and it's kind of whatever. But the drums sound very mechanical.
Weird.
But it was just because there was just some weird thing where it was like he records with like, Pro Tools, and he uses fucking Cubase or whatever, and like whatever. So we had to like sound replace all the drums and whatever. Anyway, a couple of years later, we signed to Rise Records. We don't have the money that we previously had to record. Tomas is living in LA. He's like, fly out here. Or no, I'm sorry, we didn't fly out. He's like, come out here, like, like for whatever 10 days. He's like, whatever your budget is, like we'll make it work. He was pretty cool. So fast forward, I think we toured out to California, and then we went and we stayed with him for like 10 days. He has this really cool house on a cul-de-sac in Valley Village in like LA. And it was like, actually, I think like Darla from the Little Rascals, it was like her house previously.
Damn.
But he had like his main house in the middle, what was the garage. He turned it to like 2 studios. And then the other side of the house, he had like a band quarters where we stayed, where there was like bunk beds and like a kitchen and shit. So we like posted up in Valley Village for like 10 days. We wake up, walk across the front lawn to the garage, go in, record, and yeah, at the time, like we, like obviously like growing up, like I told you about my affinity for, Anthrax and Metallica. Rick, who, basically has, pretty much wrote 98% of like everything for This Is Hell. He like, that was his shit, the big 4, Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, Testament. He grew up, he was super into metal before he got into anything else, So at that time we were kind of like, you know what, like let's dabble a little more in like our metal roots, And I think with that album, we went more with like the New York kind of crossover, like, like the Leeway and like Cro-Mags and like Suckers, and like just kind of like where we didn't go full metal, but we like really wanted to like riff a little bit and kind of like throw in some guitar solos and shit. So, and it's funny because like on that album, like I think there's one song in particular that Rick wrote in like '96 or something that he like just kind of like had and was like, I'm gonna like use this for this album. So he kind of like, he like reworked it, and it was like, yeah, because a lot of people like, I don't know, I think a lot of people like looked at it where they were just kind of like, oh, you guys just like became a metal band. And it was like, no, like we were like into metal like when we were kids, and then also yeah, I don't know, we just like we didn't want to make the same album,
Right.
I think a lot of bands kind of fall into that where something works. I mean, and also at that point, like we had done Misfortunes where like I think we lost a lot of people because it was just like it was. I think it was a similar vibe to Sundowning, but the songs were a little too long, and I don't know. So I mean, I think it was kind of like, all right, cool, let's like enter like a new chapter of This Is Hell, and yeah, I'm with you. It's hard for me to pick a favorite of our albums, because they're different times in our career and in our lives and stuff like that, but Weight of the World, I definitely have, fond memories of making it, and like we did some cool tours on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, and that was the thing, I guess, before hardcore or anything, my, interest was first into thrash. My brothers, introduced me to that with, you have DRI and Slayer and, you have some of these older Exodus and, different bands. And so, my interest was hardcore. And then, with, hearing you guys' first couple of albums and then Way of the World coming out, and it kind of went a little bit more thrash, still hardcore, by all means and true to your style, but went a little bit more thrashy. I was like, oh man,
Yeah, we were
this
definitely
is
like
it.
we were definitely like on our DRI shit, like with that,
Yeah.
like I don't remember which era, but there was an era where like Rick had like a DRI sticker on his guitar, like that he was always playing with live.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, super DRI, suicidal, like that was kind of like where we were at that time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now, so most recently with the band, tell us about the Bastards Still Remain and the return of Dan, to the mix. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I mean, like I feel like most bands who last more than one album, it comes with lineup changes, right? So Rick and I are technically the only like original members like still on the band, if we are still technically like an active band, which we are. Like we don't. I wouldn't say we're active, but we never broke up. We went on a hiatus for a couple of years, but we never like formally split up or anything like that. So we were coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Sundowning, and of course we, like us being trolls, we were like, let's like fuck with people. So we like Rick had a band for a minute with our buddy Dan Terra, who I think is in here. What's up, Dan? And a couple other Long Island dudes called The Conflicted. And it was like super 80s, like hardcore punk, like short songs, like,
yeah.
And they did like a demo or something, and then they were going to do another release, and they just never got around to doing it. So Rick was sitting on these songs, and he, at one point he was like, yo, he's like, write some lyrics and like, let's like record these songs. And I was like, all right, cool. And like, I never did because like, it's just, I don't know, daunting to do anything, and I'm lazy. So then fast forward to like a couple months before the 10-year anniversary of Sundown, and Rick was like, yo, he's like, pick like half of these songs, like half the songs you want, write lyrics, I'll write for the other half. He's like, let's write them, and like let's record these, and let's put it out on the 10-year anniversary of Sundowning. And it was funny because our first EP came out on May 16th, 2005. Sundowning came out on May 16th of 2006. And then we were going to put this one out on May 16th of 2016, right? That'd be 10 years.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So he had like these shitty garage band demos of these songs. And so he sent them to me. Like I like wrote some lyrics to songs. He wrote some. We didn't rehearse or anything. At the time, I guess at the time we weren't a band, right? So it wasn't like we didn't have like a lineup per se. But I think for the sake of Sundowning and for the sake of like convenience, we hit up Dan Burke, who played drums on. He was the original drummer. He played drums on like the demo, our EP, Sundowning, and Misfortunes before he left to join Straight from the Path. And then John Moore. He didn't play on Sundowning, but he did the bulk of the touring on bass for Sundowning, and then he was on Misfortunes, and he wrote a lot of Misfortunes as well lyrically.
Okay.
And so we hit up those two dudes, and we're like, yo, we're gonna like do this thing, like it'll be fun and funny. People like think we're gonna like announce like a Sundowning 10-year tour or something, but like we're just gonna release this like super punk album, So we hit up our buddy Brett, who plays drums for I Am the Avalanche. He has a studio in Brooklyn, and we're like, yo, dude, like we have like these like we have like 11 songs, and it's like, or we have like I don't remember, 12 songs, and it's like 12 songs, like 10 minutes long. Like we have this super like quick thing that we want to record. Like, can we come in for a day to record it? And it's like, yeah, cool. So we booked studios. We booked a day with him. I live in Brooklyn, and the other guys live on Long Island. So Dan, Rick, and Johnny got together one day, rehearsed the songs without me, and then we went to the studio like the next week or whatever. So basically, like I've only ever sung those songs like in the studio, and the songs that Rick wrote. I didn't know anything. So like we get to the studio and like so for the songs we're tracking that he wrote, I'm just in the vocal booth and it's just like da 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 da, and he's like just like giving me the lines and I'm just like recording the music, you know, like and like most of it's like one take or like two takes, you know, like I hadn't raised my voice in a couple of years and I was really afraid of like we only had the one day in the studio, like so I didn't want to like blow my voice out.
Right.
So like yeah, so we just recorded it all in one day. And then like we just put it out on and what we did prior was we had for some reason we never had a sundowning shirt. So we released the sundowning shirt ahead of like, hey, like this year is the 10-year anniversary of Sundowning, like here's a shirt, whatever. And we sold whatever we sold and we took that money to like record that album.
Oh, okay.
Sweet. So yeah, basically kind of like and it was cool for us because, you know, same thing, like obviously, you know, either before we were into metal or after or somewhere in between, like we were all into like punk and, you know, like kind of the classic 80s style, you know. So it was cool to like do and especially since our last albums were very like technical and long songs or longer songs, it was very cool to do something that was like, all right, the song's 40 seconds and there's 10 words of the song, you know, like it was just like
right.
It was just for me it was a relief to, you know, like not have to like, you know, because like my experience recording was just like I was always the useless member of the band when it came to like musical ability and talent, right? So it's just like me in the studio like doing a take and then Rick being like do it again, like, or the engineer being do it again and me being like fuck, this sucks, like if I only knew what I was doing, like we would be done, you know, like cause like recording, like we always had really really good drummers, so it was like the first day the drummer would be done halfway through the day, like chilling in the pool, you know, like and then the bass would be done. Rick would take a couple days to do his guitars, and then it was like, all right, Travis, like don't fuck this up, you know, like
right.
So,
everybody else going so quick, it's like, can you just do this a little slower? God damn.
Yeah. So later on, actually, like by the time we got to Weight of the World, and maybe even with Misfortunes, I like got a little smarter, and I was like, hey, don't leave me last. I was like, because then I have to fucking just like do all these songs, and like I'll blow my voice out. So basically, we would do drums, we would do like scratch guitars or whatever, and then I would do like one or two songs a day. And then like I would go and do like two songs, and Rick would like do guitars for the rest of the day. The next day I would go back in, I would do more songs, you know.
Oh yeah, that's a smart way to break it up.
Yeah, otherwise, like I'm not built to like Rick, like when he would do his vocals, his backup vocals or vocals for bands he sings in, like he just fucking gets in there, like sings the entire like song from start to finish, where like I would go and like do 2 lines, take a break, like do the next 2 lines, you know, like that's one of the old studio tricks where like I feel like most bands like do, like you'll do like 1 line, take a pause, hit the next line, and then go back, do line 2 and then line 4, you know, just so that way it's like your strongest take and like whatever. But he's
like punching in the
freak, yeah, and like wouldn't need to punch in. He would just go like his fucking scream, like his head was gonna explode, and just do like an entire song in one take, you know, like where I can't do that shit.
Yeah, right. I mean, shout out to Extinction AD. You got the old shirt on there, yeah. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Now, if you if this is how we're playing a show, you know, tonight, and you could come up with a 5-song set list, you know, we'll make it a little bit shorter, 5 tracks. What would be your songs that you would choose for the set list?
And this is like a selfish set list where it's like I don't care if anybody
this is you
interested. I'm scrolling Spotify on my laptop because I definitely don't remember anything. All right, 5 songs. Maybe Black Mass from the album Black Mass. That's like our like wildest like Slayer. I feel like
yes.
You know.
Is that you or Rick yelling at the beginning of that song? Okay. I've always wondered. I'm glad that you bring that up because I was
anything cool.
I can't fucking tell.
It's either it's either Rick or on Sundowning, Jeff, our original bass player. He did a lot of the backup vocals.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Rick is definitely much more versatile than I am. All right, so say Black Mass, Worship Syndrome off of Weight of the World's one of my faves.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that I wrote a bulk of the lyrics to. Let me see. Maybe Infected off of Misfortunes. That was like a fun one to play live.
Hell yeah.
That's 3 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe Prelude Again off of Sundowning. It's always a fun one to play live. And that was
a classic.
That was kind of a song that, like, no matter what, like, I feel like we probably, like, once Sundowning came out, I feel like we probably didn't ever play a show where we didn't play that song, you know?
Yeah, right.
And then I don't know, maybe Polygraph Cheaters. I'm torn between like Here Come the Rain's Permanence and Polygraph Cheaters, or like ones off of Sundowning that like are like fun, you know?
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, maybe one of those. Although fuck, it's hard. I mean, we have too many songs. Because then there's like I don't know, there's like the Enforcer off of our Enforcer 7-inch that like is sick.
Awesome, yeah, track rules.
So I'm gonna go ahead and not answer your question directly and just give you like seven songs that I like of ours.
Love it, even better. I can dig it. So now, moving on, from the band, you also most recently announced a merch line called 718 Supply. What can you tell us about this? Because this is still kind of new and kind of upcoming. What do you got going on with that?
So like when I was younger, I was super into sports, and like as I got into music, I like kind of got into music, right? And I kind of like I don't think I abandoned sports, but I was not as much into it, But like as years passed, I kind of like got back into it. Like I got back into hockey like probably 10 or 12 years ago, like super hard, and like I'm a big Islander fan, and like and then a little like more recently I got back into basketball. Like when as a kid I played travel basketball and I played for high school and stuff like that, and I love playing basketball. And like for me, like when I get into things, I like really get into it, So I got super back into basketball lately, and like I live really close to where the Brooklyn Nets play, so that's my team. And being involved in merch and stuff, I was like, man, like I want to do like a fucking like a merch line with like Nets shit, So yeah. The 718 Supply stuff is like me and my buddy Kyle, who does like all the design work. It's just kind of like a Brooklyn Nets like fan apparel line, if you will,
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty new, and like the season is starting back up in like 2 weeks or so. So yeah, kind of like something fun to kind of like. I just like having like fun ideas, and then I'll hit up Kyle and I'm like, yo, we should do this design with like this, and this, and then like hopefully we don't get like a cease and desist on it,
Right. Is there? Do you have certain things? I know that you guys released some merch for it already, correct?
Yeah, we like I think right now we have like 4 designs up. So we have like a Kevin Durant tee, a Kyrie Irving tee, Karis LeVert, and DeAndre Jordan. So we have like 4 of like their like main kind of like players, And it's tricky though too, because like in basketball, like people get traded and like whatever, so it's like you gotta
right.
Kind of like obviously like Kyrie and Kevin like both are signed for like 2 more years, so it's like those are kind of safe bets, to make merch for, and they're like super popular players,
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's like it's like a fun little like side creative thing, and like I have a 4-year-old son, and he like got like from me watching basketball, he just kind of like all of a sudden he's like really into it, so like it's like fun. Like I have a coat hanger on like a door in our apartment, like that I like bent to make a shitty basket.
Nice.
So like lately him and I have been like shooting baskets on this like thing, and he's like really into Karis LeVert like on the net, so like he's just like pass it to Karis LeVert, like and whatever. So he's like geeking out on basketball, and I'll take him to the park to play and stuff like that. So it's okay. I could do with him as well.
Yeah, for sure. Is there, a specific player, if somebody reached out and they're like, hey, I'd love to do, like an officially licensed, like line or something. Is there somebody specific that you'd be like,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think that can happen. Well, I guess it could. You know, like it's weird because like there's players associations, right? So like if someone took issue, like we'd probably hear from like the players association, you know, or like an agent or something, you know. But I guess
Okay.
there's players who have like their own. Yeah, you know what there is. There's players who do their own brands and stuff like that, you know. Uh, I really like so this dude John Morant. He plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. He was a rookie last year. I watched. There was a show called NBA Rooks on ESPN Plus where they basically followed like I think it was like 10 players from like that draft class. They followed them from like right before the draft to the draft and then through like basically their first season in the league, you know?
Oh,
It's
damn.
cool like behind the scenes look and like and like I don't know, like John Morant was just seemed really cool and like a real chill dude, and he's super fun to watch play. So I think like if like I could pick like somebody like to do something with, like he would definitely be like up on the list, you know.
Mhm.
Him, I think who else. Damian Lillard's pretty cool too on the Trailblazers. Like he would be like a fun one to do, you know. Like if it was like Nets, you know, like Karis LeVert would probably be the one that I would lean towards, you know. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously there's more players who are like more popular and it'd be more successful, right? You know, but like selfishly and just for you know the sake of working with somebody who appears to be really cool, you know, like John Morant, Karis, Dame Lillard, stuff like that.
Yeah, sweet. Did you have anything working on, your first project, Private Hell, that made something like 718, less stressful to get off the ground?
Um, yeah, I guess you know for early private hell days, like I was basically like getting stuff printed, shipped to me, and then the hallway of my apartment was like boxes, and then I would like pack stuff, go to the post office, and like be the fucking most hated person at the post office by, like, by like the woman who has to like ring up my shit, and then by the people standing in line behind me. They're like, "Oh hell no, you got fucking 20 packages that you're sending out," you know. Like, so after like the initial um, fun of doing my own fulfillment wore off, I like got somebody to handle like printing, storage, fulfillment, you know, like and all that, just because it's like I don't fucking want it in my apartment, and also like the post office is a fucking nightmare, especially like for me in Brooklyn. Like if I lived in the suburbs and I lived whatever, like it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. And there's like some stuff like in like where I grew up, there's like a post office and there's like a self checkout machine, so like I could just sit there and like do it myself, you know.
All
Um,
right.
but like I don't know, I would go into the post office and I'd be like sweating because I just like could feel people behind me like wanting to fucking kill me. And also there's also like there's you know there's technology where like you can fucking get a scale and like a printer at home and you can like
Yeah.
weigh it and like print out a label and all you got to do is go and drop it off. But like
Mhm.
me being like a fucking idiot, I never like thought any of that. You know? So now for private hell, like I have somebody else like handle all of that shit, and then 718 supply, same thing. I have a dude who like is handling like the printing and the fulfillment, so that way like Kyle can handle like the creative shit, and then I like handle like social media and like trying to get people to give a shit about it. You know.
Mhm. Okay, cool. I mean, and tell us about, the starts of Private Hell, and just kind of the visual aesthetic, it's always remained, really clean and, just really, popping imagery, just the starts of that and the new snake logo. How'd that come about?
Yeah. So the initial when I wanted to do the like a brand whatever there's a dude, Will Bain is his name, aka Will Blood, a friend of ours from Brighton, England. He did the album cover for Black Mass and The Enforcer,
Oh,
and then
sick.
he's done I think two Extinction AD album covers too. He's a super talented artist from England. So I was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna do this. You know, I'm a washed up fucking hardcore singer, so now I'm a clothing brand. Like, can you do a logo for me? You know. So I like had that vision of like the don't tread on me snake, and I was like, it'd be cool to like fuck with this and make it like whatever. So I was like, yo, like kind of let him like be creative with it. So he came back with the snake like as like the head of the snake as a noose kind of striking, you know. And I was like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool, dude. Like it's a really striking image, you know, whatever. So I went with that from the jump, and then that was kind of the thing for a while. It was like it started off as kind of just like a brand, right? You know, like and then it kind of like morphed, like as I like became friendly with some people in wrestling and stuff. I kind of like just did some collabs with some wrestlers, and just kind of like some of them were wearing it and whatever, like, so I kind of like moved a little bit into like into that world. So then, a little later, I started doing just doing wrestling. Like so from that, I wound up like printing like merch for independent wrestlers and stuff. I became friends with Chris Hero like in 2010, I think. So like if he had like a like an independent show and he needed merch for it, he'd be like, hey, I need like I need like 50 of this shirt. Can you hook me up? Whatever. So I would like like link up with like a printer of mine and like kind of facilitate it. And then from there, it was like he like it would introduce me to somebody. So like like over the course of time, it was like I was like printing for like Zack Sabre, like Sami Callihan, like I did some stuff for like Ricochet when he was independent, like Will Ospreay when he was independent. Who else I was doing for? I just did for like Walter, or like just like random dudes at Mustache Mountain if they had like a one-off show from like a progress. They like the like progress show in Brooklyn. Like they're like, hey, we need like Mustache Mountain shirts. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So like from Chris, he kind of like introed me to a bunch of people, and like I wound up like printing for a lot of independent wrestlers. So then through that, like then it was like, all right, cool, like now I like I'm friendly with these people. So like then it was kind of like, oh, hey, do you want to like do like a collab? So like I don't know, a couple of years ago, like I did like a tee with like Roddy Strong, and then like I've done one with Chris. I don't know, like I've done a couple, like like some of them I've done like collab with them. Other ones I've just kind of like done bootleg, if you will, just kind of like where it's like something that's not like either like a wrestler who's like either passed away, like old, doesn't have a merch store, or like it's it's a massive company that like they're not doing anything cool, so I want to try to give people something that's cool, and it's like I'm not fucking, like raking in money with it. It's just kind of like a fun thing where like I can like reach out to a friend and say, hey, can you draw this design for me, like so that way I can give my friend money, and then like I can get a design, sell it, people can have like a cool design, and I can make like a couple bucks to buy like an Oasis bootleg t-shirt, to support my habit,
Nice. I mean, and that's kind of the whole idea with like this month in particular with everybody I'm interviewing is is shops and stores and different things. And Private Hell has just been absolutely killing it with like the really really sick designs, and initially with just like the clean kind of simple take on it, and more recently seeing like some of the wrestlers and some of the jackets that you're putting out. I mean, you guys are you're really growing and moving into some really sweet shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to like I actually just changed the logo like recently, because it was like I've had the logo for so long, and then like it's something I never really thought about, and like I had two people who weren't white bring it up to me like, hey dude, like your logo's a noose, it's kind of like suspect. And I was like, you know what, like I never really like considered that, because
I've never,
for me it wasn't like about that, right, obviously. And then it was something just to think about, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna take into consideration what somebody's telling me because of their experiences and stuff, So, and it was like also like I've had it for fucking 6-7 years. I was like, it's time for something new anyway, So
sure.
My buddy Kyle, who does the 718 Supply stuff, I had him do a new logo. So I was really cool like flower logo now. It's very similar looking. It's got this, it's still a circle and whatever. So right now I'm just kind of like getting through like the rest of like the inventory that I have that has the old logo on it. And then I think like at the top of the year, I'm gonna like launch some new stuff with the new logo. And maybe do some I'll do some more wrestling tees, but I want to do some more like just like kind of Private Hell branded stuff, and then I'll probably do some more collabs too, maybe with some like independent wrestlers and stuff like that.
Yeah, sweet.
Maybe I don't know, I might like I feel like I'm overdue to do a collab with the band. I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever did a band collab, because there was like a point where like I was sending friends and bands shirts and they were wearing them on tour and stuff, so I think I might reach out to some friends and bands, see if they want to like do something too.
Yeah, I mean that was actually a point I was just about to hit on, was if you've ever done anything as far as like collabs with you being in the hardcore scene.
Yeah,
big opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done anything with officially with a band. I know like for Extinction AD, like anytime they like go on tour or anything like that, and they have like social media like assets, like Rick usually throws my logo on it,
Yeah.
like, so it's like the tour is presented by, whatever.
Oh, right.
And then I think there was a point where I almost put out an album for them before they linked up with Good Fight. They were like going to do a record, and I was like, you know what, like, let me just do like a Private Hill Records thing and like just give you guys a couple bucks to like do a record.
Oh.
Fortunately, that didn't happen because, God, running a record label sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna say that, but go
but I
for
think,
it.
but I think probably long overdue to at least at the very least do a shirt with maybe Extinction AD or something, or maybe like Straight from the Path. Like, those guys are buddies, and Tom is a big wrestling fan, so it'd be fun to maybe do a shirt with them or something like that.
Hell yes, that would be so sick. Let me ask you, as far as like, tell me some of your earlier memories of where you got your introduction into wrestling. With the T-shirts and whatnot. It goes back a little bit. So
My mom,
wanted to touch on that.
My mom just joined the chat. We got to
Uh-oh.
drugs. Just kidding, Mom. My earliest memory of wrestling, it's funny, my mom just came in, is that my brother and I, my dad took us to the Nassau Coliseum to see a WWF show when we were kids. If I had to guess, it probably watch your mouth, Mom. If I had to guess, it's probably, I was born in 82. It's probably like 89 or something.
Okay.
At some point, I like looked it up because I was talking. I think I might have been talking to Hero about like, I went to this fucking WWE show when I was a kid, and I saw whatever. And he like, I think I told him who I saw on the card, and then he texted me. He like had a link to the card. He's like, it was this show, and I'm like, yes, that was the show. And I tried to find it before, and I like couldn't. But as any kid of age 7 or whatever, however old my brother and I were, we were like super into Ultimate Warrior.
Yes. Oh my God.
So that was like our guy, right? So like, we're young, and like the show's going on. It's getting late. My dad's like, hey, should we take off? And my brother and I'd be like, what if Ultimate Warrior wrestles later? Like, we miss it, There's a guy like was like, we'll stay, and then sure as shit, like the next match, like, Ultimate Warrior. And he
Whoa.
comes like, so I think he wrestled. I think it was him versus like Akeem, the African Dream.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I think like if I remember, like, I have a fucking terrible memory, but like I think Jake the Snake was on the card. I think Andre the Giant was on it, maybe.
Wow.
But yeah, I'll have to dig a little bit, and I'll message you that too if I can find the card. Because I remember like a couple months ago or something, like I like unearthed it, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, this is the show that I was at. And it's cool because like the Nassau Coliseum is like such a classic venue. It's like that's where Islanders used to play. So many like massive bands, like like Metallica's, all their early like big arena tours came through there and stuff like that. But that was like my earliest memory of. Well, that was probably the first time I went to a wrestling show. I'm sure I watched on TV as a kid that I don't remember. And then a little later, as like a young, maybe like middle school or so. My best friend growing up, like his parents took us to Monday Night Raw at the Garden, and this is a funny story. I don't like fully remember it well, but we took we grew up on Long Island, so we took the train into Penn Station, and where I'm sorry, where are you from? I didn't even ask you where you're.
Michigan.
Okay. So like Madison Square Garden is like inside Penn Station essentially. So the train goes from Long Island, and then you get off the train, and you don't have to like go outside. You can just like walk around inside and get into Madison Square Garden essentially.
Oh, okay.
So it's super convenient to like go to concerts and shit like that there. So me, middle school, me and my best friend and like his parents, we like went to the Garden for this show. I have no memory of who was on the show or anything like that, but we're leaving to catch the train to go back to Long Island, and I think I ran into somebody that I knew. So like I'm walking with them, and I see somebody. I'm like, oh hey, and I'm talking to them, and I didn't realize as I'm talking to them that him and his family had kept walking. And this is like I'm in middle school. I don't have a fucking cell phone or anything, So I'm like shit. So like I'm like hey, I'm like yo, I gotta run. Like I'm gonna lose them, whatever. So I like run down the stairs to catch them to get on the train, and it's like it's crowded, right? It's like the fucking show just let out 20,000 people, and there's like people getting on the train, and I'm looking around, I can't find them, and like the train doors are like about to close, And I'm like, if I don't get on this train, like I don't know when the next train is and like whatever. So I just like get on the train, and I'm like by myself, and I'm like fuck, like I'm like, like a teenager, like whatever. And I think I wound up running into another friend's brother on the train, and I was like, hey, like I'm like with these people and I don't know where they are, And so the train like gets back to Long Island and like kind of like so I think my friend brother like wound up like taking me home, and then like I like called my friend's family like, hey, like I'm home, I'm safe, like like, but I'm sure they had like, a meltdown that they like might have like their kid's friend.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that was like my two earliest like wrestling memories, and then yeah, like as a little like so Rick from This Is Hell, like massive wrestling fan since he was a kid through now. So as a teenager being involved in hardcore on Long Island and stuff, there was people who were into ECW. So I got into ECW as a teenager. Then I got to go to some shows like the Queen's Elks Lodge and stuff like that. So that was kind of like my shit for a little while. I was really into that, and we would go to the shows there. I remember like one show we like went and I brought like an old computer keyboard that was broken, and like somebody came down the line with the garbage pail, and we like threw out shit in there, and then like later on like New Jack came out and he like threw the weapons in and like hit somebody with my keyboard, like it was,
damn
shit,
that rips.
And then I guess and that was me when I was like probably like 16 to 18 or something, whatever. So like I wasn't even in the band or anything. And then I like fell out of wrestling probably, whatever, and then started playing This Is Hell, and like Rick would always like be watching it in the van and stuff, or like if we had a day off we would watch, or if there was a pay-per-view we would like stream it at a friend's house. So like he kind of got me back into it a bit, and then also like like I said, I became friendly with Hero, and then we became kind of friendly with CM Punk a little bit. So like we would want to watch to see him, and or like if they would come through town, he would like get us into shows and we would go see him wrestle. And then in like 2010 we were on the Alternative Press tour, and Hero hit me up and he's like, hey, he's like, you guys are coming through Orlando, a friend of mine wants to come to the show, can you get them in? I'm like, yeah, cool. And he didn't like tell me anything about them, whatever. So he's like, just put them on the list. I'm like, all right, cool. So we get to Orlando, and it's Seth Rollins and Team Tremendous.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bill Carr, who at the time was Bobby Dutch. They were both in FCW, which was like pre-NXT developmental.
Right.
So they came out and to the show in Orlando and like hung out, and I think we wound up staying with him after the show or something. So I became friendly with him, and then kind of like like I said, between Hero and Rollins or whatever, like you meet people. I think maybe the next time we came through, we went to like an FCW show, and then after like went out to eat, and like wound up meeting Paige, and like we had like a mutual friend from like England. It was like, oh shit, like him too, like whatever, So wow. It just kind of became like this thing where like we wound up meeting people through, because especially independent music scene and the wrestling scene is like very similar, where it's like you drive a long time, you perform for nobody, and you make no money, like and then some people are lucky enough to like sign to a big label, and then you get money, and then you like perform to people, and then like whereas like Rollins like signed to a major company and like became popular, and like whatever. So
right.
So yeah, so I think like from like 20 like 2009 10 or so, like because when we met Hero, he was still in Ring of Honor, and then and then he like got signed to WWE and whatever, so like from like 2009 or 10 or so, like I kind of, from meeting some people, like I kind of became invested in it again, and like I said, I watched a lot with Rick, so from that point forward, like I kind of got back into it pretty heavily, and would go to a lot of like independent shows locally, whether it was like Evolve, Dragon Gate, or like House of Hardcore, stuff like that. And then and that's kind of just like how I guess I kind of got back into it. It's, like early downloading, not early, but like semi-early downloading days. Like we would like stay at someone's house, and like Rick would it'd be like Tuesday night, and Rick would be like downloading Monday Night Raw, and then like we'd get in the van the next morning, and we'd like somebody would drive, and him and I would sit in the back bench, and we'd like on Monday Night Raw, you know.
Nice, nice. I mean, who would you say, you know, of all time has the best introduction or even introduction music ever?
As far as like original compositions, I guess, you know, I feel like it's pretty hard to beat Stone Cold's like intro and all, like the whole deal, you know. But like coming from ECW, like there wasn't much like seeing Sandman come out to fucking the Sandman, you know. Just crushing beers, like, and smoking a cigarette, like, literally, like, letting the entire song play before he gets
coming out of the crowd.
Yeah, you know, like, so like it was awesome, like, getting to see shows at the Elks Lodge where, like, I got to see that, I got to see like Rob Van Dam come out to Pantera, like Tommy Dreamer come out to Alice in Chains, where it's like, you know, you can't do that shit because of fucking copyright, you know, like, but like these shows weren't like on a fucking TV or whatever, you know. But yeah, those are ones that kind of stand out. I'm trying to think of. There's a couple of good like modern ones, you know, like Kevin Owens has some like cool entrance, you know, music. Like when Bray Wyatt started doing like the Firefly thing and whatever, like he had some really fucking cool entrances.
Mm-hmm.
Who else has good stuff? There's just some cool ones that are like really like kind of heavy, like almost like moshy, like, you know.
Right.
You're like kind of like, oh shit, this is pretty sick. Oh, obviously the fucking Aleister Black, like our friends Incendiary, like Brendan from Incendiary and Code Orange, you know, like that's just like that's gonna be an all timer, and it's like so for them to like for Brendan, that's just something that's just like that's never gonna
crazy.
go away, you know, like so for as long as Brendan lives, like he has a fucking he voiced a song that, like, you know, was played in arenas all over the world, you know.
I know. I remember seeing that for the first time and them playing that live, and I was, you know, wherever I saw it, it was on my phone, and I showed my wife. I'm like, I fucking love both of these bands, and they're doing an entrance for wrestling. Like, holy shit, this is crazy.
I live down the block from Barclays Center, so like whenever there's summer stuff, I like walk over there. So like I got to see them do that live and shit, and it was just like, just like sitting there, just being like, dude, like, this is nuts. Yeah, like it's just crazy how much like the punk hardcore scene is kind of like, you know, not invaded mainstream wrestling, but just kind of like been able to you know mix itself in and kind of, you know, it's cool because it also I think there's been a wave of wrestlers who have signed to bigger companies and stuff who come from this world, right? You know, like Rollins isn't like a super hardcore dude, you know, like his taste skews a little more like Warped Tour, you know, but he does like some heavy stuff and whatever, right? You know, but then you have a dude like Brody King who like is straight up like, you know, plays in a hardcore band and shit, you know. Aleister Black is very into hardcore, metalcore kind of stuff, you know. There's dudes like, I don't know a ton about him, but I think Tony Deppen, independent dude, I think he's a hardcore dude. I'm trying to think of who else, you know, like Kevin Gill, who does commentary for GCW. Like he ran a label, like he's from Queens, you know, he's like an OG dude. I don't know. There's definitely a lot more people involved in wrestling, especially independent wrestling. Like I said, there's a lot of crossover between independent wrestling and punk and hardcore. You know, there's these shows that I can't remember the name of. I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a spot in LA that would do wrestling shows and like it would have a band play also. You know.
Oh damn!
I think
that's sick.
I think maybe in Florida they were doing it too, where it's like, you know, like Fest wrestling in Florida, you know, like Games of Fest. Like that's a perfect example where like they have like fucking, you know, like Iron Reagan will play, like, you know, and then like they'll have like a fucking wrestling show or whatever. It's cool.
Damn, that would be so sick. I would love to see them in that wrestling show.
Yeah.
You know, and then my last question being, you know, one of the earlier pictures that Private Hell posted was a picture of the Big Show repping a cap. How did that come about?
That was Paige. So like
okay.
I sent her some stuff, I think, and I had her do like an Instagram takeover, I think, for the Private Hell page, where like I think it was think it was like a random like Monday Night Raw. So she like I was just like doing backstage photos for me and posting them on our feed and whatever. And I think she had the beanie, so she would like just like made him wear it. It's funny because I've never met Big Show, but we have a very funny This Is Hell Big Show story where I think it was in Monday Night Raw in Jersey. Punk was still with the company. He got his tickets, and whenever he would get his tickets, we were like sitting on the guardrail, sitting in the like front, like we were like always like in the craziest seats, like. I remember like one night, like he got his tickets and we were like in the second row, and like I think Rick texted him. He's like, "Hey, dude, you couldn't get us better seats, like with him." And like and so that night we were like on the ramp, and I was like the first seat on the ramp. Rick was next to me, and then there were like a couple buddies with us. So for some reason, we picked Big Show to be a dick to that night, and for some reason he like wound up coming out like 4 or 5 times. So the first time he came out, we were just giving it to him. we had like a sign. We had like a notebook and a marker. We were making signs like "you suck," whatever. We're just like making fun of him. So like the first time he came out, we were on him, and then he left, came back out for something like. And every time he came out, we would just give him the business. And then the first time or two, he just was like grilling us, And then the third time, whatever, he like came over like near us, and I was like, oh fuck, like this dude's massive and terrifying. And he came over and he's like, why you guys gotta be a dick? Like I think the camera had cut to commercial, and he came over, he's like, why you guys being a dick? Like, and I was like, oh fuck, like he's mad at us, he's gonna like kill me. And then so I think from that point on we switched it. So the next time he came out, we were like, yeah, Big Show. And then so like at that point he like kind of realized, so then like the last time he like comes by and he's like, you guys are a bunch of fucking knuckleheads, whatever. And I was like, yeah. And I think the last time he was leaving, he kind of like gave us a wink, and I'm like, and I started yelling at him. I'm like, get over here. And he like comes over, and I like grab him and Rick, and we like took a selfie with him. So there's an amazing picture that I'll send you of the two of us at Big Show. And then I think nice. I think after the show, I think we like tweeted the picture, and we were like, whatever, like Big Show was our guide, and whatever. And he like sends us a DM, and he's like, had a great time with you guys tonight, whatever, like thanks,
Oh shit.
We're like cool. He doesn't hate our guts.
Right.
I was like, this dude's gonna fucking kill me. Like he's so big and
huge.
And it's like one of those things where it's like I've been around wrestling for long enough that I know that like they're playing characters, but I was still very scared by him.
Yeah. Intimidating character for sure, yeah. All right, man. Well, this is wrapping up our interview. I do have one finale question, but first off, I just want you to be able to, shout your pages and where we can get, some of these sick shirts and merchandise you got going on.
Yeah, so like all the wrestling stuff and just like the brand is Private Hell NYC is the socials for like Twitter and Instagram, and then privatehellnyc.com is the website. And like I said, there's, just some stuff that's, not super old, but just kind of stock I'm just trying to get through so I can make new stuff. And so I'm like running a discount now on there. I think if you use the promo code 2020, it gives you like 25% off. And then for anybody who's into basketball, like I'm doing this Nets thing that's 718 Supply is the handle on socials, and then 718supply.net is the website. And then, This Is Hell for the band, This Is Hell NY on Instagram, and then This Is Hell on Twitter. Like I said, we're not an active band, but there's always a chance we might fucking record a ska record or something just to surprise people.
Just looking for a fucking horns player.
Yeah. I haven't found the right guy yet.
Oh man, that is fucking funny. All right, so for this finale, I wanted to ask you, say you come up with the opportunity that you were to make a private hell fest. All right, so in this private hell fest, you can have any 3 clothing vendors along with Private Hell and 718. You can have 3 bands that are going to play with This Is Hell, and then 2 wrestling matches.
Oh my God.
One that's going to be an introduction wrestling match, and one that's going to be a finale, a main event. So we're going to start off with what other clothing companies would you have with Private Hell and 718? even throwing out just like Adidas or fuck,
Yeah,
just
like I probably have to do Nike. Like I just like, of course, like when I was younger, I was never really into sneakers or anything, and I recently gotten into Nike a little bit, and it's like becoming an issue that I need to get in check. So being that that's current, I would say like either Nike or just the Jordan brand in particular.
Okay.
Maybe I'd probably have like Violent Gentlemen because there's your buds, and I love hockey. Like I thought you were wearing a hat. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Red Wings. That's your guys.
Yes. As of recent, unfortunately, yes.
you had a good 20 something years where it was all nice.
Yeah.
And then you got brought back down to reality.
Right.
And then maybe I don't know, maybe like Top Shop. Is that like would that qualify as like a
Oh, hell yeah, that'd be sick.
That'd
be badass.
When I want to wear something a little nice, some top,
There you go. Okay. All right. So what 3 bands would you have play with This Is Hell?
Fuck. Oasis.
Yep.
Pantera.
Love it.
That's so fucking hard.
It'd be an interesting merch section, a little bit of Pantera, then Oasis.
Like weed flags and then like Union flags. Shit. I don't know the third one. I don't know. Maybe. Let's go with Madball.
Madball, fuck yes.
Just to
New
keep
York hardcore legends.
Get a hardcore band, a metal band, and then a Britpop band.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. All right, and then you got two wrestling matches. One that's going to be the introduction on the card, and then a main event.
And these are matches that haven't happened, like they're like or like because you also I think you had asked me prior to think about some of my favorite matches.
Oh yeah, that's true. I missed that one.
Should we do that separately?
Yeah.
If you have time, if you want to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So sorry. So you said the match would be introductory, and then what?
Yeah, introductory, and then you got a main event.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I'm gonna go like the intro match. Maybe I would do like Hero versus Rollins, just to like have two of my buds like having a match.
Hell yeah.
Cool. And then main event, maybe. This doesn't make any sense, and it's two different eras. But even better. I love Naito from
okay.
LFHG. So like I'd probably like do like Naito and let's say like Naito and like peak RVD.
Oh.
Just because.
Damn.
When I was into ECW, like I really dug like RVD and Sabu, So yeah, I'd say either like Naito and RVD, or just to go like crazy and like big, like Naito and like Stone Cold or something like that, so, like a big match,
Nice. All right, that would be an absolutely sick fest. And to go along with that, yeah, I was going to mention as far as your favorite wrestling matches ever.
Yeah, so I didn't know how to. I like thought about it for a minute, and like I said, I have a terrible memory, so like I had to look up some stuff and just kind of like just jog my brain a little bit. So I went with two that I saw in person, and then two that I didn't. So
Sweet.
Evolve 76 in San Antonio was Hero's last match before he went back to NXT, and it was him and Keith Lee. And the match was awesome, but it was very memorable because the fucking at some point during the match, one of them got whipped into the ropes and the top rope broke.
Oh my god!
So the top rope fucking just came off. So this is like I don't know 5 minutes into the match something. So now there's just two ropes left. So now the two of them are having to wrestle with two ropes. And this is Chris's like farewell to the Indies. Like I'm going back to NXT match, right?
Right.
So that happens. Match is going on. They're improvising to make do with having two ropes, right? So Keith Keith fucking slams Chris. Keith goes up on the second rope to do a moonsault. He pushes down, and as he pushes off, he fucking snaps the second rope. And like,
oh my God.
Like snaps his neck on like a moonsault. So now there's one rope, the bottom rope left. so then they wrestle the rest of the match with just fucking one rope. So that one is a very memorable one for me. It was Evolve 2017. It was Evolve 76 is the show. It was 2017 in San Antonio. So that's a good one to look up.
Wow.
Then another one that I was there for was Sasha versus Bailey 2015 Brooklyn Takeover, which is just like classic match, right? Like kind of not women's wrestling classic, just classic wrestling match, right? Then two that I wasn't there for but watched was Kenny Omega versus Naito at the G1 in 2016.
Oh, okay.
It's funny because everyone talks about Kenny, all the Kenny and Okada matches. And for me, I think that Kenny and Naito match was better. There's this one fucking insane spot where where Kenny springboards and flips out over the fucking barrier, like through a table, like onto Naito. He's like in the crowd, you know? And I'm like, I don't know how you can walk after that. But that one was,
right.
There's a couple of like Naito and Kenny matches in that 2016, 2017 were like was really good shit. And then another one that just kind of like popped into my mind was War Games 2017 in Houston with like Undisputed Era, Sanity, and Authors of Pain. Just the two rings, fucking a bunch of dudes just beating the crap out of each other.
Those were so sick.
I think I think Cole fucking does like a moonsault off the cage onto everybody or something. And like at the end, it's just like it was just a wild one that I can remember. So those are the ones that I was going to go with off of.
Man,
absolutely. Only a little bit of research on them.
Yeah, right. I mean, those are all, and like that's one thing with wrestling too is there's so many different subgenres of where you can go with favorites, and you have cage matches, and you have other matches that have nothing to do with any sort of extracurricular shit. It's just pure energy, So
and
I think that's awesome.
Being there for certain matches too, like there's certain matches like, you watch it on TV, you're like, yeah, it was good, but if you were there, like you just had like a different energy, right? And it's
for sure.
So like like I have two NXT matches, one independent match, and then like a Japanese match, so.
Yeah, sweet. I absolutely love it, man. I absolutely love it. Let me say thank you very, very much for your time today, dude. It's been so cool, so surreal. So I appreciate it, and I look forward to future projects that you have coming, and the clothing lines and everything. And you take care and stay safe, man.
Cool. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it.
All right, absolutely. Lo-Fi Horror Guy, Travis Reilly. You guys take care.
See ya.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah.